there guys, gals and non-binary pals. I did not expect to be recording this vlog. This was supposed to be a vlog about my surgery and how it went and how I got it and why I went through what I did and down the road. And I will apologise that my eye will be flicking a lot because I have notes for this. I spent a lot of time going through over this last night and my notes are here and it's going to involve me flicking my eyes. I apologise for that. I can't help it. So what is today about? Well, if you've read the title, Trumper, Dink, President Trump, you know what? Let's respect the office here. President Trump, President of the United States of America. No matter whether the world likes it or not, he is president. We will respect the office. Yesterday, over Twitter, decided to announce that trans folk are no longer welcome in the US military. Why does this matter? It matters because it is the thin edge of a wedge. Trans folk and intersex folk and non-binary gendered folk are the most vulnerable part of the LGBT community. We just are. Any civil rights gains we have been very recent and therefore are not set in cultural stone in much the same way that some lesbian and gay civil rights have become. It takes time for those to seep into culture and become tradition. Tradition is very important for maintaining a sense of fairness in civil rights and that this is the way it should be. Now, there's always going to be bigots who are going to be rabble-rousers in a bad way and try and cause hassle for trans folk and gay folk in the same way that they try and cause hassle for people of colour. There's always going to be assholes. But for the vast majority of people, once something becomes tradition, it's tradition and that's it. And civil rights in part are tradition. They are traditions that are legally enforced. A man and a woman have a traditional right to marry. It's also a legally enforced right to marry. In Ireland, very recently, we got a legal right for people of the same sex to marry. Right now, that's still a fairly new thing. Eventually, it will become tradition. So tradition will reinforce the law and vice versa. This is really important. This is society building 101. But trans rights and trans issues haven't got that history behind them yet. It makes us very vulnerable. What's worse is if our rights are eroded, lesbian and gay rights are next. And funnily enough, within a few hours, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States of America, filed an amicus to have the opinion that homosexuals, his choice of words, by the way, harkens back to the Pink Scare, harkens back to a very dark time in US and world history for LGBT rights, are not covered by the civil rights amendments. Yeah. Thought we'd finished that fight, didn't you? Turns out no. So there's a lot of balloons going up right now, and I suspect that a lot of the balloons going up are there designed to spread out our capability to defend ourselves to the point where our defense becomes ineffective. Now, as much as I have issues with the ACLU in the United States, they're pretty on top of this. They're going to need help. They're the best chance. Well, they're one of the best chances right now. So I'm going to talk about this specifically. I have notes and I have things to go over. So first of all, President Trump came out with saying, our military must be focused on decisive and overwhelming victory and cannot be burdened with the tremendous medical cost and disruption that transgender in the military would entail. First of all, that transgender people. He missed out the people. That is an act of dehumanization. A transgender is not a thing. A transgender person is a thing. A transgender person is a person. By simply saying that transgender in the military, it's stripping humanity, and that is a very important step in essentially the bigots' handbook. Dehumanize and then criminalize. Okay, fair enough. So let's start by dissecting this. The tremendous medical costs. What are those medical costs? Well, the Rand Corporation last year published a study that was commissioned by the U.S. Department of Defense. They found that worst case scenario, the cost of transgender medical care in the US military would be 8.4 million. Worst case. Best case, 2.4 million. 2.4 million is a lot of money. There's no getting away from that. It is a lot of money. But what is a lot of money in comparison to? Well, it's certainly not a lot of money in comparison to the cost of erectile dysfunction medicines, which have been paid for by the United States Department of Defense, to the tune of Viagra and Cialis being $84 million per year. 8.4 million is a lot of money, but it is not a tremendous amount of money. It is not. It is 1/10 of an F-35. 1/10. And I went looking for numbers, and this is the most amazing number for this, okay? It is 1/1000th of 1% of the DoD annual budget. Let that sink in for a second. It is 1/1000th of 1%. It is minuscule in the scheme of things in the Department of Defense. And I would have to find the tweet again, but there was a tweet by a US, I think he was a Democratic senator, where essentially Donald Trump would be able to pay out of his own pocket the cost of all transgender costs for the United States military from the lost change in his couch. It was ridiculous. So, okay, that's the cost part of it. It's crap. Let's talk about disruption just for a moment. Not that long ago, there was a thing called Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It was a catastrophically badly thought out way of gay people serving in the military. In other words, you can serve, but as soon as you say that you're gay, you're gone. Do you know what happens when someone has to hide a part of their life to the point where it becomes internalized and you end up almost hating yourself? Yeah, you're not a very good soldier. You're not a very good worker. You're not very productive, and you're not going to be decisive in anything. Having read a lot of articles yesterday from various different publications on both sides of the political divide in the US, there seems to be one consensus coming out. When gays and lesbians and bi people were suddenly allowed by the Obama-era government to serve openly, guess what happened? They were happy, and they became better soldiers. They became more productive. And more than that, it didn't disrupt the units. Why? Units work because they're cohesive. That's one of the key things that I think a lot of people who have no connection to the military, my connection is primarily friends who have served in the US military, friends who have served in the British military, and the fact that my family have Irish Armed Forces connections. Okay, so I'm talking from secondhand, but very immediate secondhand knowledge. If you disagree, feel free to whatever. But units work by being very cohesive. Everyone knows each other. And one friend in particular was talking about when somebody new came into their unit after someone had to retire after they had a heart attack. It was disruptive to the unit when somebody new came in. And the reason it was disruptive was they had to figure this person out. Would this person have their back? Would this person support them? Would this person protect them? Would this person work well with them? And eventually they did, after they learned to fit in with the unit. Units are like a family. They work better when people know each other. People who know each other are pretty damn sure if you're gay or not. They're also pretty damn sure if you're lesbian or not. They're pretty damn sure if you're bi or not. And they're damn well sure if you're trans or not. And that's a pretty important thing to remember. Like, nobody was surprised when I came out trans. My mum maybe, but I think she was mostly in denial. But nobody was really surprised because they kind of knew. Almost everyone said, yeah, I was pretty sure. And I'm sure other people who are gay or trans will have a similar story that most people in their lives knew. And these were people that they may not even be as cohesive a group of friends as an armed forces unit would be cohesive. So there's that. that does not lend to disruption. And apparently the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell did not cause unit disruption. What else is there to say about this? Well, let's say this. Trans rights are human rights. They are. We just want the same rights. We want access to affordable, good healthcare that deals with our particular problems, much in the same way that you want affordable, good healthcare that deals with your problems. Okay? Trans rights are the thin edge of the wedge. We've already seen that because within hours of the trans ban coming through, hashtag trans ban, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States of America, brought an amicus to say that lesbians and gays are not covered by the civil rights, by certain civil rights amendments. That would mean that homophobia in the workplace would again be okay. Strange that, isn't it? Where could this be leading to? Well, the trans ban isn't about banning people from the military. It is, but it isn't. It's really about saying where you can go and where you can be yourself. You know, think of it this way. I could very easily see trans people being told you have to sit at the back of the bus, for example. That has parallels, doesn't it? Or how about trans-only bathrooms? And I know a lot of people are going to go, that's not a bad idea. Actually, it's a terrible idea, because what it does is it creates a focal point for bigots and people who are hate-filled to come and attack us directly. There's no hiding it. You go into a trans toilet, people will know you're trans. People that shouldn't know you're trans. So you have that. You have a phrase I've seen used a couple of times on Twitter in the last few hours has been trans-only water fountains. It's about where you can go. It's about where you are allowed to go in a free society. Next thing I have to say is for trans allies and trans folk in general and activists. I noticed something last night when I was chatting with people, and that was more than one person came out with a quote that I recognized, but that some people would not. One guy quoted Marcus Aurelius. Now, I've read my Marcus Aurelius, and I like Marcus Aurelius. I don't necessarily agree with his philosophies, but for a Roman, he was a pretty good writer. Another guy came out with Plutarch of all people. Gramsci, someone came out with pessimism of the intellect and optimism of the will. That was in response to my saying, hope for the best, plan for the worst, and always, always, always have a gone to hell plan. A goth plan. Your plan when everything else has failed. I used that phrase because it's a phrase that everyone will understand. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Everyone can understand that. Not everyone has read Gramsci or even heard of. Not everyone has heard of Marcus Aurelius or Plutarch or Nietzsche or Marx or any of the other great intellectuals. Not everyone has heard of them. And quite often when people have heard of them, they don't really get what they were on about because they're kind of highfalutin. So adjust your language for your audience. If you're dealing with people directly who do get that, yeah, speak on their level. But don't speak over people's heads. It alienates them. And people who potentially could have been allies can be turned away and either made completely neutral or even going to the other side if they feel like they're being spoken down to or worse still, spoken over. Think of it as talking over a 5-year-old's head in an adult conversation. I don't know about you, but I can remember that happening. It felt crap then. It feels even worse as an adult when someone thinks that I am not able to keep up with them. Adjust your language. Do not talk down. I fear the world is heading into a civil rights battle for this generation. I've said for years that gay rights was the 90s and early noughties. Trans rights would be the mid noughties through to the late 20s. I still stand by that. Ireland is not the best place in the world to be trans. Neither is Britain. There are very few places where being trans is completely acceptable and completely accepted, and it's just a matter of course. Offhand, I can't even think of one. Trans rights are a civil right battle, and we can't win it alone. We can't. So to the L's and the G's of the LGBTQI umbrella, I will say this: we stood with you when you were fighting your battles. It's your turn to stand with us. We bolstered your numbers. So doing things like dropping us out of pride parades and pride events, not on. That shit does not fly. All you're doing is creating an opening for that thin end of the wedge, and the thin end of the wedge eventually is going to meet you. Drop us, throw us under the bus, and you'll be next. That's next. Finally, I'm going to talk about a couple of other things. Number one is this. I came across a tweet from a guy named Anthony Oliviera Mia Coupa on Twitter. He posted this in June of 2016. The queers who were nice, patient, gentle, all got shot or bullied to death. Damn right. All that's left are me and the other pissed off cockroach motherfuckers. This is true. Add to that the fact that younger people now are more educated, more connected, despite what people think of millennials, very politically active and very willing to stand on the front lines. There's a lot of cockroach motherfuckers out there. Unify, unite, become allies, push back, resist, and do this globally. Why do I say globally? Because you can be an ally globally. You can help trans people in the US right now. You can help LGBT folk in Turkey. You can help them in Ukraine. You can help them in Russia. You can help them in Kazakhstan. Everywhere. You can help them. And you can help them by realizing this. We often hear about international pressure and the global community, the world community, but nobody ever applies it to themselves. They think of it as an outside thing. It's not. You're the international global community. You have a voice. If you're watching this, you have a voice. Write an email, send a tweet, make a phone call, lick a goddamn stamp. If you have a local elected official, and in all likelihood, if you're watching this, you do, pester them, drive them insane. Get their private number and ring them at dinner. Ring them at 1 a.m. Push, 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 push. Get to a point where your elected officials, your parliament, your Congress, in Ireland, your Dáil, actually publicly condemns actions. Condemns the gay genocide that's going on in Eastern Europe. I'm trying to remember the name of the country and it's escaping me. It's driving me insane. It could be Georgia, actually. I can't quite remember, but there is very definitely a gay genocide going on there. There are countries where being gay is tantamount to a death sentence. And before someone comes out with ISIS, there are people in ISIS that are, well, to quote a beautiful picture I saw recently, these faggots kill fascists. ISIS, yeah. You're the international community. You have a voice. Unify. The United States is often conflated with international pressure. It really is, because the world is used to looking to the United States for leadership. Well, guess what? They've abdicated that crown. Other people need to step up. So get your goddamn asses in gear and start sending emails and start pestering politicians, start pestering religious leaders, start pestering community leaders. If your pride committee suddenly drop trans and bi events, push back. Make sure that their voices are not eliminated. Make sure that there is a voice for everyone in the umbrella. Make sure that there is a place for everyone in the umbrella. And then from a place of strength, move forward. What else can you do? if you know trans folk, if you know someone in the US who is troubled or upset or scared, support them. Message them, email them, talk to them on Skype, whatever you can do. Help to buoy them. Donate to LGBT activist groups wherever you feel the money will do the most good. Be personally responsible. Don't stay silent and expect somebody else to do it. Just don't. I guess that's everything I wanted to cover. It's been a dramatic 24 hours, to say the least. So, to paraphrase or quote one of my favorite YouTubers, Steve Shives, I can never remember how to pronounce his surname. You know, speak out, act out, look after one another, and above all, resist. Because he's right. So, yeah, I'll be back again sometime soon, hopefully with the video this was meant to be. Hopefully in a brighter, more cheerful, happier day. In the meantime, be good, look after each other, and bye for now.